I shared something in an Instagram post less than a week ago. There are over 14 million views of this thing, which always tells me when something goes that viral that it strikes a nerve. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode, the let them theory. My mom and dad don't want to come to Thanksgiving? Let them. My son or daughter doesn't want to go to medical school? Let them. My roommates don't want to do dry January with me? Let them. Stop trying to force other people to do what you want them to do. Hey, it's your friend Mel, and welcome to the Mel Robbins podcast. I have something so cool to share with you, and I know you're going to love it because I shared something called the let them theory in an Instagram post less than a week ago, and I just looked it up. There are over 14 million views of this thing, which always tells me when something goes that viral that it strikes a nerve. And in this post, it's just a quick selfie video, and I'm explaining what's called the let them theory. It is a game changer, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. But to just tee this up, since this went so viral, I want you to hear what I said in this selfie video on Instagram. Check this out. I just heard about this thing called the let them theory. I freaking love this. If your friends are not inviting you out to brunch this weekend, let them. If the person that you're really attracted to is not interested in a commitment, let them. If your kids do not want to get up and go to that thing with you this week, let them. So much time and energy is wasted on forcing other people to match our expectations. And the truth is, if somebody, especially somebody you're dating or who's a friend or somebody you're trying to partner with in business, if they are not showing up how you need them to show up, do not try to force them to change. Let them be themselves because they are revealing who they are to you. Just let them. And then you get to choose what you do next. The let them theory. It's so obvious. And once you learn it, you are going to use it so many times a day, it's just going to blow your mind. Because the let them theory is going to allow you to detach yourself from the things that cause a lot of struggle and angst and emotion to come up when you get controlling. The let them theory also allows you to let go of the reins and give space for other people to take responsibility. Let them do it. And finally, what you're going to learn is that the let them theory, it is incredible because when you let somebody just be who they actually are, and you stop trying to make them something else, you realize in so many friendships and so many relationships, you actually are in love with their potential. You're not in a relationship with who the person really is. And you've been so busy controlling and trying to change them that you don't even recognize that you're in a relationship with their potential. And when you let somebody be who they actually are, wow, it allows you to understand who you're actually dealing with. So I can give you a quick example of the let them theory in play because it works for things big and small. And I will tell you, this is something that I have to use all the time. Just this weekend, it was our son Oakley's prom. He's a junior in high school. And here we are in southern Vermont. And I'm used to doing prom a certain way because we raised our daughters outside of Boston in a suburban town. They're also daughters, so they were more controlling. They were organizing everything. It was a community where I knew all the families, all the kids, the traditions were locked in. Everybody knows everybody else. And so here we are in this new town in southern Vermont, and Oakley's going to the prom with somebody we've never met, don't know her parents. We don't know any of the traditions here, and it doesn't seem like there are a lot of them, honestly. But one of the traditions that was present is that there were girls that were organizing groups of people to come to their house for pre-prom photos. So we go to this person's house, and it was really great to meet everybody, didn't know a soul there. We get there, and I'm standing there with Oakley, and it starts to rain. And not just rain, it is like a torrential downpour. The kind of storm where you go, that really sucks. You know, it really sucks. Like, you are going to look like you have taken a shower if you walk out the front door of this house and try to walk 20 feet through this rain to get to your car. That's how hard it was pouring rain. And so they're standing there, and it's about 5 o'clock at night. Prom starts at 7, and the kids start talking. So what do you want to do for dinner? And I look at Oakley and I say, you guys don't have a reservation somewhere? He goes, no. And I then said, well, what are you going to do? Do you want me to call? And I start then jumping in, right? And over functioning with my anxiety, which we have talked about before on this podcast, the do. And the kids are kind of gathering around, and somebody goes, well, why don't we go to Avocado Pit? Now, Avocado Pit, just to put this in context, is this amazing little, amazing taco place, right? It's got maybe 6 tables in it. It's tiny. It's like the size of one stall of a garage. So we're talking 1-car parking place. And there are 20 kids in tuxedos and long dresses, dressed to the nines. It is a torrential downpour outside. And their plans for prom are to go to a fast casual joint in the center of town that could maybe have 6 of them standing inside. And I immediately start going, you can't go to Avocado Pit. You're going to get wet. What about? I am controlling. I'm that person. And my daughter turns to me and she says, Mom, if they want to go to Avocado Pit, let them. It's his prom. It's not your prom. Let them. And when she said, let them, it's as if I just went hands off. It was this little cue that was like, okay, you're doing that thing. Just turn from controlling everything, Mel, and let the current of what's happening take you in a different direction. And immediately what happens when you adopt the let them theory is that you are able to catch yourself when you're controlling people, and you don't need to be. You are able to drop into a more surrender, peaceful feeling instead of letting your emotions rev you up. And it kind of begs the question, right? Because I've been thinking about this. Why did the let them theory? Why is it so resonant for people? Why did 14 million people in a matter of a week watch and share that video? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because every single one of us struggles with controlling behavior, or we struggle with controlling thoughts. And the let them theory is a way that you can check yourself so that your controlling nature or your controlling or obsessive thoughts don't control you. Because the reason why we do this, we control other people or we just can't let it go. Like, have you ever been in a situation where maybe your buddies organize a golf trip and they don't include you? Or the women in your life go away for a weekend and you're not invited? Or a friend that you adore is dating a real asshole, somebody who's horrible for them. Let them. I mean, how much does you worrying about it, how is that going to change anything? It's not. How does spending 200 hours talking to your friend about this horrible person over and over and over, how does that help? It doesn't. Let them. If somebody's firing you, let them. If your company's going through layoffs, let them. It is so liberating when you drop the sword, when you just let go. And there's this really interesting analogy that's going to help you that comes from a psychologist. I've got a ton of notes for this. You're going to hear me doing my notes because I want to get this right because there's so many tools because this does not come naturally to us. And I'm going to explain why. There's a psychologist, Dr. Amy Johnson, who uses this example. And I think we can keep coming back to this visual. When you tip into that control mode, and we all do it. I mean, come on, you can kind of go, oh God, Mel, let the kids get a burrito for crying out loud. But don't you dare tell me that if the roles were reversed, you wouldn't have questioned the decision to not have a reservation, first of all, before prom. And secondly, to then want to go to some burrito bar, right? In the middle of a rainstorm. But I digress. Here is the visual from Dr. Amy Johnson. She says, whenever you go into control mode, imagine that you are in a tiny, tiny boat and you're paddling upstream. You are paddling against the current. It is hard to paddle against the current. It is a fight. That is what it feels like when you're controlling other people, right? Or you're trying to control them. That's what it felt like for me at this pre-prom party. Because as these kids are casually talking about driving over to the avocado pit and grabbing a bite to eat, I've got my oars and I'm fighting against that current. And I'm like, but you should have had other things. But what about this? But you're going to get your date's going to get her dress wet. What the fuck, Mel? So what Dr. Johnson says is that when you catch yourself doing it, you are fighting against the current. You are literally paddling up emotion inside of you and resistance and frustration, because it's frustrating when you can't control the people around you, right? It's frustrating. It doesn't create more control. It actually makes you feel less in control. What she says is you must let go and surrender. And so she'll visualize, just hands off the oars, drop the oars. And what happens is the boat in that situation, what does it do? It turns around. And instead of going upstream, when you drop the oars, the boat naturally just floats downstream with the current of how things are going. And you will notice the same thing. That instead of fighting what's happening, you are able to drop the oars and just surrender to what's going on, which creates peace and ease for you. Because does it matter if Oakley and his friends want to go to the avocado pit? Of course not. Who gives a shit? In fact, it might be the most memorable part of prom. Standing in the pouring rain, all of them crowded in this restaurant, ordering tacos before the thing. And so the bigger point here is I don't think any of us are aware of just how much energy and effort and time we waste on shit that we're trying to control. And the let them theory is a lever that you can pull so you can create more peace and ease and love and all of it in your life, so you can float with the current of things instead of battling it so far. And the reason why we have this controlling nature is, believe it or not, it's a form of anxiety. When you are overbearing on people, maybe you're an overbearing parent. We have a lot of people who write into this show whose parents are immigrants to the United States, and they were completely overbearing. Why? Well, because of two reasons. Number one, they probably had a lot of fears. There was a lot of uncertainty. They wanted you to succeed. They wanted you to fit in. They wanted you to have the best of everything and more opportunities than they did. And so they pushed you and pushed you and pushed you and pushed you. And the second reason why people do that is because they think it's a form of love. That if I push you, if I look out for the best for you, if I think about all the things that could go wrong and I micromanage you, don't forget your umbrella, don't forget your lunch, do this, do that, be this kind of major, that you think you are looking out for the best for somebody. But what you're actually doing is you're suffocating people. The second reason why we are also controlling and why you need the let them theory is because it's easier to focus on other people. You trick yourself into thinking that you're going to be in control if you can control other people. It doesn't work that way because you can't control other people. You can manipulate them. You can guilt them. You can shame them. You can compliment them. You can love them, but you can't control them. Okay? You can just try to. The person that you can control is yourself. And every time you use the let them theory, you immediately reverse the focus of that control on everybody else. And you turn it back on yourself. I'll give you an example of that. Let's say that your friends have gone away this weekend, okay? And your feelings are hurt. If you sit there and worry about it, why did they it left me out? I feel left out. I'm always left out. What did I do wrong? Blah, 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 blah. Maybe I should text them. Maybe I should say something. Maybe I should. No. You know what you should do? You should let them go away. You should let them go away. And you should stop focusing on what they're doing. Because all this obsessing about it and thinking about what you need to do in order to control what's happening, it's not working. And secondly, it's distracting you from what you really need to do, which is put the focus back on yourself. As you're sitting there, ask yourself, well, if I'm this upset by it, what do I need to do to make sure that I am proactive about friendships, that I'm the one organizing these things? That's where the real power is. And finally, the reason why we engage in such controlling behavior and these obsessive thoughts is because oftentimes it distracts us from the truth. Oftentimes, when you are, I stop and think a little bit about this situation with Oakley and the prom, and it's really dumb, but there's a very deep underlying thing that was going on. I've gone through 4 prom experiences with our daughters in a public high school outside of Boston. And it was not like the prom here. And I think all of the things that felt unfamiliar reminded me that I'm in a new place. We got home from that pre-prom photo party. I turned to Chris and I said, I'm really kind of sad because I miss knowing all the kids. I shared something in an Instagram post less than a week ago. There are over 14 million views of this thing, which always tells me when something goes that viral that it strikes a nerve. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode, the let them theory. My mom and dad don't want to come to Thanksgiving? Let them. My son or daughter doesn't want to go to medical school? Let them. My roommates don't want to do dry January with me? Let them. Stop trying to force other people to do what you want them to do. Hey, it's your friend Mel, and welcome to the Mel Robbins podcast. I have something so cool to share with you, and I know you're going to love it because I shared something called the let them theory in an Instagram post less than a week ago, and I just looked it up. There are over 14 million views of this thing, which always tells me when something goes that viral that it strikes a nerve. And in this post, it's just a quick selfie video, and I'm explaining what's called the let them theory. It is a game changer, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. But to just tee this up, since this went so viral, I want you to hear what I said in this selfie video on Instagram. Check this out. I just heard about this thing called the let them theory. I freaking love this. If your friends are not inviting you out to brunch this weekend, let them. If the person that you're really attracted to is not interested in a commitment, let them. If your kids do not want to get up and go to that thing with you this week, let them. So much time and energy is wasted on forcing other people to match our expectations. And the truth is, if somebody, especially somebody you're dating or who's a friend or somebody you're trying to partner with in business, if they are not showing up how you need them to show up, do not try to force them to change. Let them be themselves because they are revealing who they are to you. Just let them. And then you get to choose what you do next. The let them theory. It's so obvious. And once you learn it, you are going to use it so many times a day. It's just going to blow your mind because the let them theory is going to allow you to detach yourself from the things that cause a lot of struggle and angst and emotion to come up when you get controlling. The let them theory also allows you to let go of the reins and give space for other people to take responsibility. Let them do it. And finally, what you're going to learn is that the let them theory, it is incredible because when you let somebody just be who they actually are, and you stop trying to make them something else, you realize in so many friendships and so many relationships, you actually are in love with their potential. You're not in a relationship with who the person really is. And you've been so busy controlling and trying to change them that you don't even recognize that you're in a relationship with their potential. And when you let somebody be who they actually are, wow, it allows you to understand who you're actually dealing with. So I can give you a quick example of the let them theory in play because it works for things big and small. And I will tell you, this is something that I have to use all the time. Just this weekend, it was our son Oakley's prom. He's a junior in high school. And here we are in southern Vermont. And I'm used to doing prom a certain way because we raised our daughters outside of Boston in a suburban town. They're also daughters, so they were more controlling. They were organizing everything. It was a community where I knew all the families, all the kids, the traditions were locked in. Everybody knows everybody else. And so here we are in this new town in southern Vermont, and Oakley's going to the prom with somebody we've never met, don't know her parents. We don't know any of the traditions here, and it doesn't seem like there are a lot of them, honestly. But one of the traditions that was present is that there were girls that were organizing groups of people to come to their house for pre-prom photos. So we go to this person's house, and it was really great to meet everybody. Didn't know a soul there. We get there, and I'm standing there with Oakley, and it starts to rain. And not just rain, it is like a torrential downpour. The kind of storm where you go, that really sucks. You know, it really sucks. Like, you are going to look like you have taken a shower if you walk out the front door of this house and try to walk 20 feet through this rain to get to your car. That's how hard it was pouring rain. And so they're standing there, and it's about 5 o'clock at night. Prom starts at 7, and the kids start talking. So what do you want to do for dinner? And I look at Oakley and I say, you guys don't have a reservation somewhere? He goes, no. And I then said, well, what are you going to do? Do you want me to call? And I start then jumping in, right? And over functioning with my anxiety, which we have talked about before on this podcast, the do. And the kids are kind of gathering around, and somebody goes, well, why don't we go to Avocado Pit? Now, Avocado Pit, just to put this in context, is this amazing little, amazing taco place, right? It's got maybe 6 tables in it. It's tiny. It's like the size of one stall of a garage. So we're talking 1-car parking place. And there are 20 kids in tuxedos and long dresses, dressed to the nines. It is a torrential downpour outside. And their plans for prom are to go to a fast casual joint in the center of town that could maybe have 6 of them standing inside. And I immediately start going, you can't go to Avocado Pit. You're going to get wet. What about? I am controlling. I'm that person. And my daughter turns to me and she says, Mom, if they want to go to Avocado Pit, let them. It's his prom. It's not your prom. Let them. And when she said, let them, it's as if I just went hands off. It was this little cue that was like, okay, you're doing that thing. Just turn from controlling everything, Mel, and let the current of what's happening take you in a different direction. And immediately what happens when you adopt the let them theory is that you are able to catch yourself when you're controlling people, and you don't need to be. You are able to drop into a more surrender, peaceful feeling instead of letting your emotions rev you up. And it kind of begs the question, right? Because I've been thinking about this. Why did the let them theory? Why is it so resonant for people? Why did 14 million people in a matter of a week watch and share that video? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because every single one of us struggles with controlling behavior, or we struggle with controlling thoughts. And the let them theory is a way that you can check yourself so that your controlling nature or your controlling or obsessive thoughts don't control you. Because the reason why we do this, we control other people or we just can't let it go. Like, have you ever been in a situation where maybe your buddies organize a golf trip and they don't include you? Or the women in your life go away for a weekend and you're not invited? Or a friend that you adore is dating a real asshole, somebody who's horrible for them. Let them. I mean, how much does you worrying about it, how is that going to change anything? It's not. How does spending 200 hours talking to your friend about this horrible person over and over and over, how does that help? It doesn't. Let them. If somebody's firing you, let them. If your company's going through layoffs, let them. It is so liberating when you drop the sword, when you just let go. And there's this really interesting analogy that's going to help you that comes from a psychologist. I've got a ton of notes for this. You're going to hear me doing my notes because I want to get this right, because there's so many tools, because this does not come naturally to us. And I'm going to explain why. There's a psychologist, Dr. Amy Johnson, who uses this example. And I think we can keep coming back to this visual. When you tip into that control mode, and we all do it. I mean, come on, you can kind of go, oh God, Mel, let the kids get a burrito, for crying out loud. But don't you dare tell me that if the roles were reversed, you wouldn't have questioned the decision. to not have a reservation, first of all, before prom. And secondly, to then want to go to some burrito bar, right? In the middle of a rainstorm. But I digress. Here is the visual from Dr. Amy Johnson. She says, whenever you go into control mode, imagine that you are in a tiny, tiny boat and you're paddling upstream. You are paddling against the current. It is hard to paddle against the current. It is a fight. That is what it feels like when you're controlling other people, right? Or you're trying to control them. That's what it felt like for me at this pre-prom party. Because as these kids are casually talking about driving over to the avocado pit and grabbing a bite to eat, I've got my oars and I'm fighting against that current. And I'm like, but you should have had other things. But what about this? But you're going to get your date's going to get her dress wet. What the fuck, Mel? So what Dr. Johnson says is that when you catch yourself doing it, you are fighting against the current. You are literally paddling up emotion inside of you and resistance and frustration, because it's frustrating when you can't control the people around you, right? It's frustrating. It doesn't create more control. It actually makes you feel less in control. What she says is you must let go and surrender. And so she'll visualize, just hands off the oars, drop the oars. And what happens is the boat in that situation, what does it do? It turns around, and instead of going upstream, when you drop the oars, the boat naturally just floats downstream with the current of how things are going. And you will notice the same thing. That instead of fighting what's happening, you are able to drop the oars and just surrender to what's going on, which creates peace and ease for you. Because does it matter if Oakley and his friends want to go to the avocado pit? Of course not. Who gives a shit? In fact, it might be the most memorable part of prom. Standing in the pouring rain, all of them crowded in this restaurant, ordering tacos before the thing. And so the bigger point here is I don't think any of us are aware of just how much energy and effort and time we waste on shit that we're trying to control. And the let them theory is a lever that you can pull so you can create more peace and ease and love and all of it in your life, so you can float with the current of things instead of battling it so far. And the reason why we have this controlling nature is, believe it or not, it's a form of anxiety. When you are overbearing on people, maybe you're an overbearing parent. We have a lot of people who write into this show whose parents are immigrants to the United States, and they were completely overbearing. Why? Well, because of two reasons. Number one, they probably had a lot of fears. There was a lot of uncertainty. They wanted you to succeed. They wanted you to fit in. They wanted you to have the best of everything and more opportunities than they did. And so they pushed you and pushed you and pushed you and pushed you. And the second reason why people do that is because they think it's a form of love. That if I push you, if I look out for the best for you, if I think about all the things that could go wrong and I micromanage you, don't forget your umbrella, don't forget your lunch, do this, do that, be this kind of major, that you think you are looking out for the best for somebody. But what you're actually doing is you're suffocating people. The second reason why we are also controlling and why you need the let them theory is because it's easier to focus on other people. You trick yourself into thinking that you're going to be in control if you can control other people. It doesn't work that way, because you can't control other people. You can manipulate them. You can guilt them. You can shame them. You can compliment them. You can love them, but you can't control them. Okay? You can just try to. The person that you can control is yourself. And every time you use the let them theory, you immediately reverse the focus of that control on everybody else. And you turn it back on yourself. I'll give you an example of that. Let's say that your friends have gone away this weekend, okay? And your feelings are hurt. If you sit there and worry about it, why did they left me out? I feel left out. I'm always left out. What did I do wrong? Blah, 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 blah. Maybe I should text them. Maybe I should say something. Maybe I should. No. You know what you should do? You should let them go away. You should let them go away. And you should stop focusing on what they're doing. Because all this obsessing about it and thinking about what you need to do in order to control what's happening, it's not working. And secondly, it's distracting you from what you really need to do, which is put the focus back on yourself. As you're sitting there, ask yourself, well, if I'm this upset by it, what do I need to do to make sure that I am proactive about friendships, that I'm the one organizing these things? That's where the real power is. And finally, the reason why we engage in such controlling behavior and these obsessive thoughts is because oftentimes it distracts us from the truth. Oftentimes when you are, I stop and think a little bit about this situation with Oakley and the prom, and it's really dumb, but there's a very deep underlying thing that was going on. I've gone through 4 prom experiences with our daughters in a public high school outside of Boston. And it was not like the prom here. And I think all of the things that felt unfamiliar reminded me that I'm in a new place. We got home from that pre-prom photo party. I turned to Chris and I said, I'm really kind of sad because I miss knowing all the kids. And I miss knowing all the parents. And I miss seeing kids that I have known since they were in diapers, all grown up in tuxes. And I think I'm just kind of sad. And I'm controlling where Oakley is going to eat because that was something that was always part of the prom experience back home. And so a lot of times the controlling or the obsessing is triggered by the way you think things should be or the way that you're used to things being. And you're uncomfortable with the uncertainty, which is why you jump in and you do this. And so that's where the let them theory comes in, because you can use the let them theory for just about anything. And 99% of the time, when you feel yourself trying to control a situation or another human being, I want you to use the let them theory. I want you to literally say to yourself, my mom and dad don't want to come to Thanksgiving. Let them. My sister-in-law doesn't want to go to so-and-so's baby shower. Let her. My son or daughter doesn't want to go to medical school. Let them. My husband doesn't want to train for this triathlon that I've signed up for. Let them. My roommates don't want to do dry January with me. Let them. Stop trying to force other people to do what you want them to do. And so much more peace will come into your life. And you will also take that exact same energy and angst and frustration that you were aiming at your kid going to the avocado pit, and you will have it to put towards something else. It's really powerful. And that's why I want to take the time to truly unpack this. So before I tell you the 3 different ways you can use this, because we're going to break these down, because I've been very, very surprised by how often I use the let them theory. And I'm also surprised by the amount of peace, control, and confidence and love that it brings into my life when I use this with myself, okay? And when I use this as advice with other people. I want to give you, though, 3 caveats, okay? Because the let them theory is basically where you're going to go, drop the oars. I'm out. I'm just going to let you do it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to bitch about it. I'm not going to try to control it. I'm just going to let them, okay? But there's 3 moments in time where I don't want you to do that, where I want you to step up, okay? And I want to cover these off the bat because I know so many of you are going to be like, but what about this? So let me just say up front, if somebody is doing something dangerous or they are discriminating against you, do not let them do that. So, for example, if you've got a buddy or a family member that's had a couple drinks, don't let them get behind the wheel of a car. That's not a time to drop the oars and just go with the flow. And so I think that example is very clear. The second example of where you're not going to just let people do whatever they're going to do, that's where you need to ask for something or you've got to advocate for your rights. And I'm going to give you a really important example about this. Don't ever let somebody determine what they're going to pay you when you get hired. I'm not kidding about this. And this is really important for you to hear because there was a Pew Research study that was done this year in 2023. 60% of people surveyed said in their past job, they didn't even negotiate their salary. They just let the company pay them whatever. Do not do that. Okay. So if you're in a situation where you need to ask for what you need or advocate for yourself, do not let somebody just to decide those things. Okay. You got to step up and you got to take control in that situation. And finally, if somebody's continuously crossing your boundaries, don't let them do that. If you've expressed them, if you've defined them, you need to hold your boundary. Do not let them just walk all over you like a doormat. Okay? Good. All right. With those 3 caveats, we are going to jump into the 3 specific ways I want you to start using the let them theory. But before we do that, we're going to hear a short word from our sponsors because they allow me to bring this to you, this amazing let them theory in detail for 0 cost. We love our sponsors. So let's let them tell you a little bit about why they're so cool. And then when we return, the 3 ways you are going to use the let them theory to bring more control and peace back into your life. But you know what this let them theory does not apply to? You. You watching on YouTube. I'm so excited you're here, but I'm not going to let you just continue to watch without subscribing. Please. Your support is a huge deal. I'm able to bring you new videos every single day because of the ad support on our YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed, hit the subscribe below. I do not want to let you just keep on freeloading. And I know that you want to support the show too, because our friends over in podcast land, they're on commercial break. You and me, I am guilting and controlling you right now to subscribe to the channel. All right, subscribe. Now let's get back to the show. Mwah. Welcome back. I'm Mel Robbins, and I'm teaching you a theory called the let them theory that is something that I use nonstop. My kids also use this when I become an overbearing mother. And I had just explained that the let them theory is used in a moment where you feel yourself ramping up the control. You're just wrapped around the axle. Your knickers are in a pinch. You can't believe so-and-so did such and such a, or you're just thinking about it. Why didn't they invite me? Why does everybody get together? Why does my roommate always do this? She was in town and she didn't call me. Let them. Let them. Other people get to be themselves. Other people get to make decisions. The let them theory is a way for you to address your own anxiety about uncertainty. It is a way for you to let people be who they are. It is a way for you to get out of other people's business and stick to your own business. And it is a way for you to create emotional peace, to not whip yourself into a frenzy, to not care about things that are really not your concern, and to stop this reflexive need to control or comment on everyone around you. I just, when I looked at the post that we did on Instagram, there were 9,800 comments this morning on this thing. It's only been up for a week. That's how much this struck a nerve. 9,800 comments in 1 week. That's incredible. Here's a great comment. Let people be who they are, because sometimes you need that person that way. So let them. It doesn't have to be everything, a bad thing or anything. It's so true. I think about that with my husband. I used to get so annoyed because the guy's a slow processor. Just really, like, you can almost hear the wheels turning as he's thinking about something. And he asks a lot of questions. And it used to drive me fucking crazy. I just would be like, could you spit it out? Like, what are you thinking about? And I realized I need him to be that way because I am moving at the speed of light. One of us has to have our feet on the ground. One of us has to be thinking through decisions. One of us has to make sure that the bills get paid and the dog gets to the vet and that the things that we're doing are thought through. And so I use the let them theory to just let Chris be who he is and stop making him wrong and stop trying to control him. And it certainly creates more peace for him. And it also allows me to be more present. So let's talk about the 3 ways that you are going to use the let them theory in your life. The first one is detachment. Use the let them theory to detach yourself from the emotional or mental struggle that you can get yourself into when you're thinking about either what other people are doing or how things should be going, and to just tap in to emotional peace. Sufama, I'm saying it wrong, wrote this on Instagram. I've wasted a lot of time, Mel, and energy feeling inadequate due to my expectations of other people. It hurts. Yet I've learned to make the conscious choice to keep doing me regardless of their behavior. It's fucking hard to be good at this. It requires practice. And you know what else I think it requires? When you realize this strikes a nerve for all of us, that we all have trouble with this, because of course you have expectations. I'll give you an example. Have you ever gone to a wedding? And it's a wedding where a lot of your friends from college or a certain period of your life are going to be there, and you're so excited because you think that you're all going to be seated together. This always happens to me and Chris, always. And you go to the wedding and you go up to that beautiful display that people do now where everybody's cards are in a place to find out where you're sitting, and you pull out your card and you're like, oh, we're at table 11. Where are you guys? You're like, we're at table 3. We're at table 4. Oh, we're at table 4. We're at table 11 too. And you realize all your friends are sitting together but you. And in those moments, I want to try to switch cards. I want to make the bride and groom wrong. I want to... Let them. Let them. It's their wedding. Let them do what they want. Instead of feeling hurt, instead of feeling bummed, instead of looking over that table across the dance floor longingly and thinking, why the fuck am I with the second aunt and the cousins? Oh, I know, because I can talk to anybody. I can see it right now. They're sitting there. Oh, Mel and Chris can talk to anybody. We'll stick them over here. As I'm looking longingly across the dance floor and I'm making up a story, they're having way more fun. No, let them. Let the bride and groom do what they needed to do. Let the friends do what they're needing to do. Just let them. Because does that emotional turmoil that you create inside yourself, does it actually help you enjoy the wedding? No. Does it change where you're sitting? No. So let them. It's like a form of radical acceptance, and it is hard. It's hard because I think we default to holding on to our expectations or holding on to feeling hurt or wronged or having an opinion about how things should. It's too hot. Why are they doing it? Let them. Let them. If United Airlines wants to board from the back of the plane, let them. Who cares that you paid extra for extra legroom? You're still going to get it. Let them do what they need to do. Here's another comment. A friend told me that she was so upset and disappointed that another friend had gone without her on a trip that she thought that they were supposed to take together. My God, was she fixated on it. She just couldn't let it go. This is the perfect opportunity to tell your friend about the let them theory. Have you heard about the let them theory? When your friend does something that upsets you, let them. I mean, for all you know, it's not that they didn't want to go with you. It's that they just needed time alone. So let them take the trip alone. Why do you have to be so offended about everything? Why do you have to be so fucking hurt about everything? Not everything's that serious or that deep, everybody. Let people do what they need to do. That's detachment. And I think it's very straightforward. You're upset about something. You're talking about something. You're griping about something. You're feeling hurt about something. Use the let them theory. And, just for those of you that are kind of smarty pants and you're going to write in and be like, but what about if you're at the beach and they leave their shoes on the beach and you just let them leave the shoes on the beach? No. You're not upset about it, are you? Of course you're going to turn to your friend and be like, hey, dumbass, you left your flip-flops over there. Go get them. You're not going to let them do that. I'm talking about when you're getting yourself worked up about something. You're getting yourself annoyed about something. And I can give you another example. When I first moved to Vermont, we moved here, in March of 2020, say no more. And so there were travel restrictions for a couple years, and that limited anybody's ability to visit us. But it's now going on Oakley's junior year, and my parents have still yet to visit. And I was really hurt by this and really upset by it, thinking, wait a minute, he's now a junior in high school and they haven't come to see where we live. And I kept saying, just let them. Just let them. They have their reasons. Just keep inviting them and let them. And what I finally realized, because instead of being upset about it, I just had a conversation with my mom about it, is she said, I just don't like that state. And I said, why? And she told me the story about how when she was really little, her parents left her at the family farm with her grandmother, and they went to the state of Vermont with their older sister to do something related to an eye surgery. And while they were gone, my great-grandmother dropped dead next to my mom. And when my grandparents, her parents, came home, one of the first things they said to her is, "Why didn't you save her?" And so when I see that story, I see this isn't about me. This is about something else. Let people do what they need to do. When you give people the space to do things in a way that makes them feel comfortable, eventually they come around. And sure enough, they're going to be here in a month, and I can't wait. But you got to let them. Let them have the space to sort through their stuff. So let's talk about the second way you're going to use this theory. And this can be a little trickier because this is the let them theory. When you really need to take a step back and you got to let people fail. And you've got to give people the room to grow, the room to learn, and the room to take personal responsibility for something in their life. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. So when our son was in fifth grade, he went to this incredible school outside of Boston that focuses on language-based learning differences. So like dyslexia, dysgraphia, that kind of stuff. And I'll never forget, they said, if you forget their lunch, don't bring it. They're not going to go hungry, but don't bring it. Because so much of what we're trying to teach them is that they are capable of creating systems to remember things. And if they constantly forget things and you rescue them, they're never going to learn that. It's in the forgetting, it's in the sting, it's in the consequence of not doing something that you learn that this is important to you, and you create systems and processes to actually do it. And so if they forget their lunch, let them do it. If they forget an application deadline for a job, let them forget. Why? Because they needed to learn that lesson. And here's the hardest application of this on the planet. If you have somebody in your life that's struggling with addiction, anybody who has dealt with this will tell you, nobody gets sober until they're ready to. And so if somebody is not ready to go to rehab, let them. If you force them to go, they're just going to leave. If somebody relapses, let them. It's not until they tell you that they're ready for help that they are going to actually use the help that you give them. And this is a really, really, really hard thing to grasp in your life. Let them. Just let them. And it's important because every time that you bail your sister out who's terrible with money and you loan her money, you know what happens? She continues to be terrible with money. Sometimes you need the sting of 11 bounce checks or the lien on the house, which is what happened to Chris and I back in, 2000, whatever. I remember he asked his brother to loan him some money and he said, "I'm sorry. If me not giving you this money is the reason why the business fails and you go bankrupt, then so be it. But I can't bail you out. You got to figure out how to do this yourself." He let Chris fail. And it was one of the most important things in the world. Why? Because he wasn't responsible for Chris's failure. Chris was. And he wasn't responsible for rescuing him. Chris was. And when you constantly rescue people, you're teaching them that they're not capable of rescuing themselves. And so the next time you get that whiny phone call from somebody that needs money or somebody that forgot something or somebody that wants to transfer yet again, don't control the situation. Simply hear them out and say, if you want to do that, great, I'll support you by cheering you on. But you're going to have to do the paperwork. You're going to have to figure out how to get out of debt. You're going to have to come to me when you're ready to get clean. You gotta let them do it themselves. And here's one more thing on that. Every time you rescue somebody, you rob them of the opportunity to grow. Every time you step in and you make the problem go away, you make the person a little weaker and more dependent on you. So if you truly want somebody to tap into the strength inside themselves, yes, there is a time to support people. But if somebody keeps relapsing, if somebody keeps forgetting their lunch, if somebody keeps dating the same toxic fucking person, Let them. Because eventually it's not going to work. And then they're going to come to you and ask for help. And when they do, they'll be ready to accept it. And, for you people pleasers out here, like Ann Waters, who commented on my Instagram post, she says, but Mel, I'm a people pleaser. And I keep doing lots of stuff for other people. How the heck do I stop doing that? The let them theory. Let them do it themselves. Let your kids do their laundry and have the jeans bleed into the sweatshirts and have it all be that kind of weird bluish gray color. Let them do that. Let them learn that they actually care about doing it right. Let everybody at work go without having their birthdays celebrated. Why do you have to be the one that remembers it and brings all the cupcakes? Just let them. Let your brother host the holidays this year. Why do you have to bend yourself over backwards? Let them step up. Let your friends make the plans. Why do you have to be the one that makes the plans all the time? And finally, work. If you feel like you take on everybody's work, let them do their own job. It's certainly going to be easier on you when you use the let them do it theory. Oh, it's your presentation. You're behind the ball. I'm sorry. I've got these 55,000. I wish I could help, but I'm going to let you keep that on your plate. Thank you very much. And this feels like a really good time to let our sponsors have a little word. So let them tell you a little bit about their cool products and services. And when we return, the third, very surprising way, perhaps the most powerful one, that you're going to use the let them theory in your life when we return. Welcome back. I'm Mel Robbins, and today you and I are talking about the let them theory. It's just the most beautiful detachment, emotional piece, kind of little tool that you can use to catch yourself when that controlling, nagging, ruminating behavior kicks up inside you, or when you catch yourself rescuing people. You're going to take a step back. You're going to let them fail. You're going to let them drop on their face. And you, my friend, are going to let them grow from it. You're standing by. You'll be there when they've learned the lesson. But for now, we got to let the people in your life fail, fall, do things their way, because it's what is going to help them grow. Besides, it's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is you and your happiness. And that brings me to the third way that you're going to use the let them theory. And this one is really difficult. Let them be themselves. Let's say it again. Let the people in your life be who they are, and let them be who they're not. See, I think that we all make the mistake of getting into relationships, and we're not really in a relationship with the person as they are. We're in a relationship with the potential. And when you focus on someone's potential and you start to try to control and manipulate and want them to reach that potential or change or be different, you're not letting them be themselves. And that not only sucks for the other person, because there's nothing that feels good about being on the receiving end of that. Don't wear those shoes. You need an umbrella. Why are you doing that? Well, you should train with that. You should lose some weight. Why are you eating gluten? Come on. Won't you go to this movie with me? Why do you have to always do that thing? That doesn't feel good, does it? So stop doing it to other people. Let them be themselves. And stop and think. Are you truly in a relationship with the person as they are? Or are you in a relationship with who you wish they were? And you know that that's true if you're constantly in your mind griping about what you wish they would change, instead of letting them be themselves. And if you can catch this, that you're always dating the potential, that you're always in a friendship that you hope will improve, you'll realize that you're not even present with the person as they are. And when you give somebody the freedom to be themselves, guess what happens? You see who they really are. There are 6 questions that I will walk you through that you need to answer right now if you want to make next year your best year ever. See, an amazing year, an amazing life, it doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. Because if you had a lot of low points this year, you're not alone. That doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. Because when you tell the truth about what knocked you down, what drained you, what broke your heart, you're not being dramatic. You're being self-aware. And that awareness is the starting point for change. You can't create directions for where you want to go unless you know where you're starting from. This is a year-end ritual that my husband Christopher and I have been doing together for the last 22 years because it's simple and it works. And if you've had a challenging year, you deserve to make the next year your best year ever. Hey, it's your friend Mel, and welcome to the Mel Robbins podcast. I am ecstatic that you're here today. It is such an honor to be together and to spend this time with you, but today in particular, I am fired up that you're here. And if you're a new listener or you're here because somebody shared this with you, I just want to take a moment and personally welcome you to the Mel Robbins podcast family. I cannot tell you how excited I am about today's conversation and the year-end planning exercise that you and I are going to be doing together, because I'm about to teach you how to make next year the best year of your life using 6 powerful questions that you need to ask yourself right now. Now, this is a year-end ritual that my husband Christopher and I have been doing together for the last 22 years. Our 3 adult children now do this with us. It's based on research. It is so simple. It is shockingly powerful. I cannot wait for you to extract the wisdom and clarity that you need in order to make this coming year one of your best years ever. And here's one of the things I want to encourage you to do. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with colleagues at work. In fact, you can hit the share button on this episode right now. And when you all get together, you can print out your free workbook. Just go to melrobbins.com/best year. And let me tell you about the workbook, okay? I got the workbook right here. It is 20 pages long. It is beautifully designed. It is free. And we designed this because it acts as a companion to the episode that you're listening to or watching here on YouTube. And here's what I love about the workbook. The workbook is going to guide you in digging even deeper into the 6 questions that you're about to hear me ask you and that I'm going to be answering for myself alongside you as we go through this ritual together. And so you might be asking yourself, why do you need to do this? Simple. If you never stop and force yourself to take a look at your life, you miss the chance to take control of your life and make it better. See, an amazing year, an amazing life, it doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make when they sit down to plan the year is that they miss the critical first step of the planning process. And I've done this too, because you're so excited to end the year, right? And to get that fresh slate and the clean start. And particularly a year like this, where it could feel like a dumpster fire. You're like, let's just put this sucker out and move on to the next year. I'm done with 2025 for crying out loud. I just need a clean slate. I need a fresh start. I need to look ahead. I do not want to look back. But if you only look ahead and you don't take a moment to look back at the last 12 months, you miss the single most important part of planning. And that is taking a very close look at what just happened this year. You've experienced so many things, good and bad. You've had highs, you've had lows, you've had lessons, you've had wins, you've had losses. And if you're like me, you've probably forgotten 99% of them, really. I mean, you might think you remember what happened in the last 12 months, but you don't. You can't trust your brain. And that's reason number 1 that we're going to, in a very specific way, we're going to look backward before we start to look forward. So I don't want you to answer the questions based on memory. One thing that I find very helpful is that not only you're going to have your workbook next to you, and if you don't have the workbook, no problem. You can just use a piece of paper. But the second thing I want you to have when you sit down and truly take the time to go through this planning ritual and to ask yourself these 6 questions and to really dig deep and answer them, I want you to have your phone next to you. And what you're going to notice is as you go through your camera roll and you go through each of these first 3 questions, what were the lowest points of your year? What were the highest points of the year? And what are the lessons that you learned and the wisdom that you gained from these last 12 months of your life? What you're going to notice is you had a lot of life these last 12 months. There was so much wisdom. The second reason why we're going to look back It just has to do with the mechanics of navigating and getting a set of directions. Because you may be in this moment very clear about some of the things that you would love to have happen next year, kind of the goals that you have, the things that you're wishing for. Maybe you're really clear. I want to make more money. I want to take better care of myself. I'd like to see my friends more. I really want to meet the love of my life. I'd like to lose some weight. I'd like to be in better shape. I'd like to travel a little bit more. I'd like to change my job. I'd like to learn new skills. That's fantastic. But it only tells me where you want to go. Consider this. You can't create directions for where you want to go unless you know where you're starting from. In fact, it's mathematically impossible to create directions unless you know the starting point and then where you want to go from there. And you also cannot create a plan for where you want to go next year that's going to work until you fully understand exactly where you're starting from right now. In fact, this is my favorite part about planning for next year. My favorite part is looking back at the past 12 months and extracting everything I can from it, because I don't want you to repeat the same mistakes. I want you to double down on what went well. I want you to pull out the lessons and carry them forward, because you're going to use them to make this next year of your life one of the best years of your life ever. And it is one of the secrets to my success, because it really helps me get intentional about what I want. And so before I came up here to talk to you and share this exercise with you, I went into Chris's office and I went through his files and I found this folder, and it's labeled 2006 goals. And you can see this is a very old folder. I opened it up and I found the original planning that Chris and I did in 2004. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. I wanted to get pregnant. And I wanted to get pregnant and have a little boy. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. This is before Oakley was born. How cool. Oh gosh, I'm still working at getting out of bed. I wanted to consistently get out of bed at 6 a.m. This is so cute. Chris has got stuff on here, a lot about health. But anyway, it's just amazing to look back on this. And we started doing this with our kids about 10 years ago. And so I have been doing this for 22 years. When people ask me what is one of the secrets of your success, other than hard work and doing the things you don't feel like doing and obsessing over the details, because that's what makes you exceptional instead of just good at something, this planning exercise is an example of a secret that I have been using for 22 years, so that no matter what's going on in the world around me, I take the time to get very clear about what I want, very clear about what's working and what's not working. And I use this exercise, if I really think about it in the broadest sense, as a way to change the settings in my mind. This is what a lot of the neuroscientists have talked about on this podcast, to intentionally program my mind and let it know what's important to me. There's one piece of research I want to call your attention to. It's from California State University and UCLA, and they looked just at the act of writing a short letter to your future self. Now, this research appeared in the Journal of Experimental Psychology Applied, and here's what the research found. When you spend even a few minutes connecting the dots between who you've been, who you are right now, and who you want to become in the future, research shows that you feel even more closely bonded to the future version of you. Isn't that kind of cool? That just taking the time right now with me, or if you're going to do this whole process after you listen and watch once through, and then you're going to go and do it with people that you care about, simply taking the time to look at the last 12 months, to think about the future, to write all this stuff down, you're going to feel more strongly connected to the version of you that you see in the future. In the study, the people who took the time to connect the dots between who I have been and who I really want to become, they exercise more. They were more intentional about how they went through their day-to-day life. Just a tiny writing exercise changed real world behavior. And that's exactly what answering these 6 questions is going to do for you, because you're taking the time to do this. And that means you're intentionally creating this bridge between where you are right now and the version of yourself in the future that you want to grow into. Makes sense, right? Of course it does. So let's go through the first 3 questions. And we're going to do this together. And question number 1 is, what were the low points of your year? And here's why I want to start here. I want to start with what were the lowest points of your year? Because if you had a lot of low points this year, you're not alone. I mean, you might be waking up most days with this low-grade sense of dread right now. Maybe you've been in a constant state of worry. It's been in the back of your mind. You're constantly worried about money or politics or war or the climate or your kids or parents or your health or all of it. So if life has felt hard a lot of the time these last 12 months, here's the first thing I want you to know. That doesn't mean it was a bad year. That doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. First of all, it means you're alive and you're paying attention. And I don't want you to beat yourself up, because here's the funny thing about low moments and hard years. If I think about my life, not that anybody deserves a hard year, but if I think about my life, I learned the most and made the biggest positive changes in my life after the hardest years of my life. And that's not to say that you deserve to be struggling. I'm not saying that at all. But there is a connection between those years where there's a lot of heavy stuff going on and this internal resolve and just like, that you need to say, I have to not have that happen again. I have to make a change. And there's also a big science-backed benefit, by the way, to starting here and to looking at the low moments and to looking square in the face at what was hard. Spending time with this question, what were the low moments, as difficult as it may be, this is actually good for you and me. There's this study that was published in 2018, and it was done by researchers at UC Irvine and Penn State. And here's what they did. They tracked what happened when people had hard things happen and then just shoved down the emotions, tried to move on, and never sat down to intentionally process what happened or what they're feeling about it. And the research is very clear on this, that you do need to sit down. It is important to just take a moment and face the lowest parts of the year, acknowledge it. And here's why. It gives your brain a chance to process what happened. Listen to this. The researchers found that when people don't do this, when you just try to move on, let's just make next year a great year, even though this year was a dumpster fire and I hate it every second. No. Researchers found that if you just try to move on, when you let the negative emotions just sort of stick down deep down there and ignore it, those feelings stay in your body. You're going to feel more stressed. You're going to have more issues with your physical health. Everyday life starts to feel harder. But when you really take a moment to acknowledge what was hard and you write it down, you know what you're doing? You're freeing yourself of the weight of it. There's also really cool insights from Ethan Kross, who's a psychology professor at the University of Michigan, who appeared on this podcast. And Professor Kross says that taking the time to do an exercise like this, you know what it does? It also puts distance between you and your negative thoughts about it. Isn't that kind of cool? Because we kind of think it's the opposite. If we just ignore it and we try to move on and set new goals, that somehow we're distancing ourselves. It's the opposite. You subconsciously drag it with you. Acknowledging it. It's a way to untangle the loops that are running in your subconscious that are pulling you down and create distance from those things that happen so that we can get into an intentional mindset that's going to give you clarity and that's going to help you make better decisions and that's going to help you focus on what's ahead instead of trying to outrun what was behind. Don't you think this is so cool? I love this stuff. I absolutely love this stuff. And so I'm going to start scrolling through my camera right now. And I know it can be hard to look back, but I'm telling you, it's going to be the key to move forward. And so get out your camera roll. I want you to get out your calendar. And I want you to go all the way back to January 2025. And I want you to think about question number 1. What were the low moments? And I also want you to think about question number 2. What were the high moments, the highlights, the things that were amazing, or maybe the little things that happened that are, you even forgot it happened, but it brought you so much joy. And the reason why I'm asking you to hold both of those questions in your mind is because you're going to start scrolling through your camera. It's going to happen to me too. And you're going to see both. You're going to see both. And you're going to see things like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that my aunt was sick and was in the hospital. I forgot how many days I showed up and was there to support her. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that snowstorm when the boiler went out. Or, oh wow, I had to miss out on my family vacation because work got so crazy and work made me miss out on it. Maybe you're going to see that money was tighter than normal. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe business slowed way down. Maybe somebody that you love is no longer here. Maybe you had a plan, to lose 25 pounds at the beginning of last year, but it all fell apart because you've been stressed out. You've been caring for everybody else. And so you never carved out the time for yourself because your aging parents needed you. And here's one other thing I'm going to invite you to do. If at the end of last year, you did set some goals for yourself this year, bring them to this exercise. Because maybe you said you were going to get a promotion, or you were going to find the one, or you were going to buy a house, or you were going to get into the program, or that you were going to see your friends. And maybe none of that happened. What I'm going to tell you is it probably didn't happen because you never looked back to understand where you were starting from. Because when you look back and realize, whoa, I spent my entire year taking care of young kids and taking care of my aging parents, and I was in school at night and I was also working full time, you're going to have some compassion for yourself. You're going to realize that part of being successful in achieving your goals is in being realistic about what your life looks like right now and being realistic about what you can fit in and succeed at. And when you start from there, we can create a set of directions to get you where you want to go. We can create something that's both realistic and attainable and also inspiring to dream about. And when you set goals and a vision for how this is going to be the best year of your life that are in direct response to what you experienced in the last 12 months and where you are right now, these goals, they become personal. They're no longer, I should do this because the internet says so. They're you know what? I need to do this. I want to do this. I get to do this because I want to feel better. And this is what psychologists call intrinsic motivation. It's the internal fuel that comes from you having a deeply personal meaning tied to the types of things you want to change this year. Because if it really matters to you to not be lonely again this year, because as you scrolled through the photos, you're like, I didn't spend any time with my friends. No wonder I'm really lonely. It really matters to me. Like, this is something I deserve. This is something I need. This is something I get to do, is to prioritize this. If I saw my friends more, it would be one of the best years ever. Well, when you can connect what you want to do to that deep intrinsic meaning for you, you will do something about it because you know why it matters to you. If you keep seeing yourself standing in the back of every photo because you don't like how you look, if you see yourself taking photos of your family, but you're sitting on the bench while they're off on the hike, if it really matters to you to not be out of breath when you're walking up the stairs, because you're starting to say, hey, some of the low moments is I didn't opt in. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't participate with my kids or my friends the way that I wanted to. When you connect it to something you deserve, when you connect it to something that will make your year better, when you do it for you because you get to and because you deserve to, that's that intrinsic motivation. That's how we create the best year ever. And that's why you can't skip this question. Okay, here's a major low point for me. I don't even want to show you this photo. This is me on January 26th. I am so sick. I missed a friend's wedding. I had worked myself into the ground. I was in bed for 4 days. Oh, Mel, you really need to take a break, woman. I mean, wow. Wow. Okay, let's keep going back. There's lots of photos of hotels, of airports, of me on the go, go, go. And look, I can't really complain about work because I'm self-employed. I did it to myself. And this year has been just unbelievable. I think it's like the highlight of my career. That said, I did not take care of myself at all. I was inconsistent with exercise. I could get my morning walk in, but you know how all the experts are constantly like, you got to get a lot of protein. You got to do your resistance training. You got to stay hydrated. I did not do a good job of that. I mean, how could I if I was just go, 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 go? It's so hard. It's hard to implement the advice when you're constantly stressed and you're constantly worried and it's not even that it was like negative stress. It was just constantly on the go. And you might see that too, that in and among all the photos, what you're not seeing is you taking care of yourself. You're just seeing yourself on the move and doing things. And that's very, very evident that despite the fact that I really wanted to take better care of myself, I'm embarrassed to tell you it was even a goal last year of mine to do more strength training, to eat more protein, because that's what so many experts come on this show and tell us over and over and over again, whether they're a neurologist or a cardiologist or a psychologist, or it's women's hormones or it's muscular health or any of it. Like everybody's saying this. I did not do a great job of that. Not at all. And look, you may not even be jumping on a plane. A lot of people have jobs that require them to travel, whether that means jumping on a plane because you work for a consulting company or jumping behind the wheel because you're a long haul truck driver or working. Oh my gosh, for those of you that work shifts in a hospital and you're on that 12-hour rotation. And isn't it true that hospitals don't exactly have the healthiest options for the people that are working there as you're on the go and you can't take a break? Or if you're a teacher, holy cow, when are you going to take a break and take care? You're not. And so whether you're just crazy busy because work has been crazy busy or your life is just busy, you are running from an email to a Zoom call to a phone call with your mom to trying to wrestle down a doctor's bill, like busy. This year was, I think, unprecedentedly busy for all of us. And so I think one of the big themes for me when I look at the low points, if I have to summarize it, is A, I didn't spend enough time with friends. B, I did, I would say, a C+ job of truly taking care of myself. And that means getting resistance training in. It means getting the proper nutrition, getting the amount of protein that I need every day, and not taking care of myself. It just like spills over into the next day. Because there's a lot of photos in here that I'm not going to show you of me taking a selfie in bed, and I just am clearly exhausted. And that's because I ran myself into the ground and I was sending the selfie to my husband. And I have more photos of my 2 dogs and my cats than I do my family or my friends. That's a problem. Another low point, Oakley left for sophomore year. And I don't know about what anyone else feels, but in terms of the empty nest thing, the first year there's such a buildup that, I don't know, I felt really sad and the house was incredibly quiet, but I also saw it as this amazing opportunity. And then, they come back. They come back for break. They come back for the summer. There's something about him leaving this fall for the second year that it's like, oh, this is actually the new reality. Oh, he's going to come back less and less. And, I better wake up and not just expect to see the kids because they're coming home. I got to get very intentional about going to them. And that's a really important insight that comes from seeing the low point, that the house was really quiet. I worked too much. I didn't see my friends enough. I took kind of lousy care of myself. And that's the truth. I got to do better this year. I just have to do better. Have to do better. And here's what I want you to understand. You see how I'm not shaming myself? I'm just being like, matter of fact, this is what happened. Matter of fact, okay. Because when you tell the truth about what knocked you down, what drained you, what broke your heart, you're not being dramatic. You're being self-aware. And that awareness is the starting point for change. And that brings me to the second question. If we're going to look at the lows, we're also going to look at the highs. So as you're going through here, I want you to look at the things that were highs for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean the big flashy stuff. I mean, one of the huge highs for me is even though we didn't get a great family photo of the 5 of us, I'm talking like one that everybody in the family would be like, oh, I love that. One of my huge highlights of these last 12 months is I spent a ton of time with family. I made an effort to see my parents. They made an effort to come see me. My husband and I made an effort to go to where our kids were and to spend time with them. We did some really amazing like family things in terms of camping and experiences that we did together. I made a point to do a trip solo with my daughter, Kendall, something we had never done, just the 2 of us. And think about that. She's 25 years old. But because she's my middle daughter, every time I would go on a mother-daughter trip when they were little, I'd always take Sawyer too. And if Sawyer wasn't with us, we always went with another mother-daughter. I'd never done anything with just Kendall. It was incredible. I'm sitting here looking at these photos of us at Round Top. It was one of the highlights of my year, spending that time with her and making the time to do it. And so that's a highlight. And that's also a lesson. You got to plan this stuff now. This stuff is not going to happen by accident. You know, I want you to go through your calendar and look at some of the highs because there's so many. I'm seeing a photo of me walking in the park before work one morning with Christine and my daughter Sawyer. I'm looking at, there's just so many good things here. Great people that I got to meet this year. Lots of smiles as I'm at work with, all the great people we work with. Wow. There's lots of good stuff here. Oh, Chris and I went to Montana and we went fly fishing, which is exactly what we did for our honeymoon 28 years ago. I went down and saw my parents for a couple days in Florida. Oh, and they did their first sound bowl healing with me. Oh gosh, here's another one. Oh, my parents came to visit me in April. Oh gosh, here we all are together again in May in Chicago. You know what is interesting about this? Is that I have this narrative that I don't see my parents a lot. And yet here right on my photo roll, before the middle of May, I had seen my folks 4 times this year, which is huge when you consider that we live a 16-hour drive apart from one another. Isn't that interesting? Like you're going to actually see a lot of things in this that might also challenge the way you beat yourself up. Oh, Jesse's baby. Jesse had a baby. It was our first baby here at 143 Studios. The highs show you what you want more of. The highs show you what you're willing to work for. What I also love about the highs is that you're going to notice there are these small moments that really are the big moments. Here's a photo that I'm looking at right now of Chris and Oakley and I. We went and surprised him. He was playing at this big ultimate tournament and he's got tears in his eyes as, he's just hugged Chris and he couldn't believe we were there. That was a huge high for me, that moment. I mean, it's the little stuff, honestly, that you're going to notice are the things that really mean a lot to you. Maybe you're in a job where you sit all day, but this year you started walking in the morning and you see photos in your camera roll of, the little hearts, whether it's the rocks or the leaves or things on your walks that you notice. There were tons of flowers on my camera roll. Maybe it was a really good book that you read. I read one of my favorite books of all time. This was a high, The Emperor of Gladness this year. Or it was a photo or a painting that you hung in your living room. that makes you smile every time you walk past it. All of that counts. Like anything that puts a smile or a, oh, on, your heart. Oh, one of the most amazing highs was we went to the Coldplay concert. And if you've ever been to a Coldplay concert, they do all these explosions of confetti. In fact, it's the thing that inspired me to shower the audience with huge ticker tape confetti at the Let Them tour. Wait till you experience this if you're coming on tour with us in 2026. And there are all these photos from this summer when we were at the Coldplay concert and the confetti flying through the air and our kids in it. That is something I'm going to remember. The smile and because the more you look for good things, the more you see them. And, I've already said that I kind of feel like I am in the single biggest moment of my career. That what has happened this year in my life, in my career, with this podcast, with the Let Them Theory book, it is nothing short of jaw-dropping. Like never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined what has happened. And so I do want to take a moment and just thank you, because you're a huge highlight of my year. The way that you showed up for yourself and started listening to a podcast that makes you feel good and that empowers you to make changes in your life that make you feel better. We are the #1 most followed show on all of Apple Podcasts. Are you kidding me? My jaw's on the floor. The #1 most shared episode on all of Apple Podcasts is a Mel Robbins podcast episode, the one that we did with Dr. Stacy Sims from Stanford, who came on and taught us how to do the body reset. In fact, I was joking with her this morning. I'm like, I blame you, Dr. Sims. I blame you because you're the one that told me I had to start doing resistance training. You're the one that told me the importance and the critical nature of getting complete protein in my life. You're the one that put me on this journey of understanding that I needed to do this, because it's very hard to get the amount of protein that you need. It's very hard to do the resistance training when you're constantly as busy as you and I are, but we're doing it. I mean, another thing I have to thank you for is the Let Them Theory book. The Let Them Theory book is the #1 book in the world. And look, you can write a great book and it can do really well. And that's an incredible thing that is very, very rare. But the Let Them Theory is almost beyond description because it has become an actual phenomenon. You don't just have a book come along that 8 million people read or listen to in 11 months. What that tells me is that the Let Them Theory and the book and the experience of reading and listening to it, that it not only empowered you, but it was something that you felt was so empowering that you were giving it to other people and you were recommending it. And so it's a real highlight of my life and my career. And I think it's important for you when you have a win that you claim it too, that you celebrate it too. And so thank you. Thank you for being a huge part of this success. Thank you for being interested in making your life better. Thank you for recommending the episodes that have made a difference for you with the people that you care about. I am deeply humbled by what's happening. And then that brings me to the Let Them tour. That was one of the most fun and rewarding experiences of my life. I met so many of you in person. When I sit here above my garage or I'm in the studios in downtown Boston, I don't see you. And I don't see what you're doing with this as you're doing this. I can imagine it because I read the comments and I read the emails you send in the inbox and we circulate those to the team. But it was so extraordinary to be in the same room with you and to feel the collective energy that happens when you're with a group of people who want the best for themselves and they want it for everybody around them too. I mean, that's just extraordinary. But the single best part was actually doing the tour experience with my daughter Sawyer and my daughter Kendall. I don't know why I thought that doing skits in front of a live audience about our mother-daughter issues would be fun, because it wasn't fun until we kind of got into the rhythm of it. But here's the thing that I will claim as the highlight. The highlight is that at the age of 56, I forced myself to do something I had never done before. I'd never acted. I'd never done comedy. I'd never put on a show like that. And it was so hard and so incredible at the same time. And I just grew and I grew and I grew because of it. So don't overthink it. Just scroll through the photos, scroll through your calendars, and ask yourself, was it fun? Did this experience lighten you up? Did it make you feel like yourself? Is there something about this that makes you want to do more of it in the coming year? If the answer is yes, it goes on the list. This was a highlight. And, I even kind of shudder to tell you the good stuff about me, because it's so once in a lifetime stuff. But if you've got something that's once in a lifetime, your first baby was born, your grandchild was born, you got married to the love of your life. If you put on an art exhibit at your local town and people showed up, that's a high. If you got into nursing school, if you got through nursing school, if you decided that you were going to change your major because you didn't like accounting or medicine, that's a high. Claim these things because they say something about you. What did you learn about yourself this past year? This is where I want you to dig, because you've already done a lot of the legwork for this part. Your answers to the first two questions. And again, when you do this in your workbook, melrobbins.com/best year, the answers in the workbook and the way that we structured the workbook to guide you to go a little deeper. Holy cow. The answers in there, they're going to help you answer this question number 3. What did you learn this year? If a low point was that you were constantly worried about somebody that you love who's sick that you're taking care of, and you were so worried about them that that's all that you did and you had no life outside of that. Maybe you learned that this year you can't let yourself get that overwhelmed. You do need to ask for help. You do need to reach back out to those friends who said, is there anything I can do for you? And you're like, no, I got it. You might have found that you're more resilient than you thought. If you see that something was really bad about a friendship or about a work relationship or about your marriage, maybe you're done tolerating a certain type of behavior. Maybe you learned that you're capable of changing your careers, or that you need help with your mental health. And there's no shame in that. See, the highlights and the hard parts, the highs and the lows, they're not just memories, they're data. Those experiences are telling you something about what you like, about what you don't like, about what you need more of, what you never want to go through again. And so just sit with this for a bit. And for me, when I look at question number 3, given everything that happened this year, what did I learn about myself? What I learned about myself is, number 1, I love spending time with you. I love spending time with you in real life, not just on this podcast, but I love meeting you in person. And I'm not just saying that. I really do feel that. It brings me so much energy. And so I want to find ways to connect with you more in real life. So that's number 1. That was just such a huge highlight. And it was a big takeaway for me that in-person experiences just give you life. I love that. Second thing. Now, this is something my husband, Chris, would be able to tell you, because he is a very organized person. He is a systems person. And he knows that this is a challenge for me. But it is so clear that I am at my best when I have structure, when I have routines, and when I have systems. I'm going to give you an example. There were a bunch of photos in my camera roll of a particular week where I just looked so energized at work. And I went back to my calendar and I was like, what was going on that week at work? And I realized, oh my gosh, I had meal prepped. I know this sounds so dumb, but there's this particular soup. I've talked about it before. It's swamp soup. The recipe comes from Wishbone Kitchen. It's this green mess of a soup with chicken and rice, and I love to make it. But I started making it in September. And I would then bring it down to our studios in Boston, and I would eat this chicken soup all week. So I was getting enough protein, I was getting proper nutrition, and I felt phenomenal. I was in control. I was less impulsive. I was focused. I was energized. I was waking up early enough to go to Pilates or use the hotel gym. I mean, it was a complete contrast to the weeks where we would be taping the podcast episode. And I'm like, I don't even know what to eat. I'm tired. I'm sluggish. I'm moody. I'm unfocused. So the bottom line is I want to feel healthier in my life, and I cannot and do not plan to overhaul it. I need simple, repeatable structures and systems that I can add into my day that give me the proper nutrition, because it's like a domino effect. When I eat healthy, when I'm getting whole foods, when I've prepped my meals, when I'm getting enough protein, I feel great. I sleep better. I wake up earlier. I exercise. For me, it's like that domino that falls, and the rest of it's easier. The third lesson for me, it's a huge one. And I know this, but this is why this is so important. The things that you know are important, you need to be reminded of them. Like, I realize that it's obvious advice to say, if you want to see your family more, freaking get out your calendar and schedule more time with your family. But life is so busy, and a year goes by in a blur, that this slowing down and looking back really sears into your cellular structure. What's important to you? And my relationships are the single most important thing in my life. And they're the most important thing in your life too. And the reason why I started the year on a trip celebrating my dad's 80th birthday is because 2 years prior, we had put it in the calendar. The reason why I saw my folks a lot this year is because we made the plan to do it. The reason why I spent a lot of time with my kids one-on-one is because I made the effort and I made the plan. The reason why I saw my friends in Montana is because we scheduled it in. And it's a reminder of how fast a year goes, how fast it's just all over. It puts into focus that love, it's really the only thing that matters. I mean, isn't that the truth? And I need to keep that front and center, because the things that were the highs about my life this year were all about other people. And this is backed by research. Professor Carl Pillemer at Cornell University, he runs Cornell's Legacy Project, where he studies people in their 80s, 90s, and their 100s. And they look at what are the top regrets of people who are nearing the end of their life. And their top regret is leaving things unsaid. It's not spending time with the people that you cared about when they were here and when you had the ability to do it. Another piece of research, the Harvard study of adult development, relationships are the number one predictor of whether or not you live a good life. And this year, every single high that I had was because I was spending it with people that I love. And I am proud of myself of building good habits. That's another lesson. I'm proud of myself, and I want you to look at what are you proud of? Like, there's a bunch of habits from the experts that were on the Mel Robbins podcast this year that I really was good about, despite how busy things were. Number one, I was fantastic about getting out for a daily walk. No matter where I was on the planet, I was out for a daily walk. And I see myself all over the place walking, a lot of times alone, because I'm traveling for work, but I'm still doing it. I got rid of the plastic cutting boards in our kitchen and all the plastic containers that you store things in. I feel good about that. My husband and I both go to therapy, and it's really improved our relationship. And I certainly feel like a better version of myself. And the other thing is, I use the let them theory. I am a different person because of the let them theory. I had no clue how controlling I was and how judgy I was. And the let them theory has made me a better person from the inside out, because it's taught me how to just truly let people be who they are, let them think what they're going to think, and resist the urge to control them or change them or be upset with them when they don't meet my expectations. I'm a more compassionate person. I feel more peaceful. I hope as you've used the let them theory, part of what you can reflect on is how good it feels to stop controlling everyone and everything and just focus on the let me part. And so that's a huge thing I'm going to carry forward because I love how I feel using this theory. And the best part about this is that if there's aspects of your life that you don't like or that didn't feel very good this year, you have it within you, the ability and the capacity to change it for the better. And that brings us to the next 3 questions. It's called stop, start, continue. These 3 questions, what are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing? What are you going to continue doing? They come from a strategy framework that global companies and leadership teams use all the time because it's simple and it works and it's strategic. And now that we've extracted all the lessons and you know the highs and the lows, it is so easy and obvious to answer the question, stop, start, and continue. I love this. The insights that you just uncovered create the clear plan for next year. And so here's your next question. Isn't this exciting? Can you tell I'm now getting really exciting? What will you stop doing in the next year? And here's what I want you to keep in mind. One of the fastest ways to change your life and level up is to identify what you're going to quit. Winners quit all the time. Because there's a big difference between quitting something out of fear and quitting something because it no longer aligns with your values. It's no longer important. It's no longer working. Winners quit the habits. They quit patterns. They quit expectations. They quit jobs. They quit relationships. They quit projects. They quit obligations. They quit customers. They quit career paths that drain them. They quit all the time. Because they quit the things that keep them frustrated, exhausted, distracted, so they can actually move forward. You know, one of the biggest things that I can see about the let them theory is it helped me stop controlling other people. It helped me stop trying to change other people. That was liberating. And honestly, it kind of goes against the way the world teaches you to live. I mean, you and I are surrounded by this pressure to do more, add more, push more, as if the only path to a better life is piling more on your plate. But that's not true. One of our guests this year on the Mel Robbins podcast, Georgetown University professor Cal Newport, who's an expert on time and productivity, said something that really struck me. Real productivity isn't about doing more. It's about focusing on what really matters. Subtraction before addition. Subtraction because it creates room for what matters. That's why this question is so important. It forces you to stop everything and start being deliberate. So when you ask yourself, what do I need to stop doing? You're not giving up. You're getting strategic. And here's a couple examples of what you need to stop doing. I need to stop going into a job every day that makes me miserable. I need to stop telling myself that it's a very hard economy and I'm never going to find a job. I need to stop telling myself that I'm never going to meet the one. I need to stop beating myself up over the shape that I am in because that's not helping. That's not motivating. I need to stop trying to change my partner because it's creating a lot of resistance in my life. I need to stop telling myself I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too this, I'm too that. That's what I need to stop doing. I need to stop sitting alone in my house and feeling sorry for myself because it's contributing to the loneliness I feel. I need to stop sitting around and waiting for other people to call me. And I need to take responsibility for the kind of social life, for the connection to my family that I want. When you decide to stop because it no longer serves you, it's a waste of your time. It's frustrating. It's stupid. It's annoying. Your values have changed. Your priorities have changed. You're going to make a decision to stop. Stopping becomes the lever that moves you forward rather than this weight that's holding you back. And so as your friend, I'm going to ask you, what are you going to stop doing next year? You going to stop doom scrolling every night before bed and then getting a crappy night's sleep? Will you stop being available 24/7 for work texts and emails? Will you stop comparing yourself to strangers online or to your sister or your best friend? Will you stop blaming yourself for things that were never yours to carry in the first place? How about you stop giving your time to relationships that never give anything back? I know one thing that I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop making excuses around resistance training. I just need to stop making excuses. I'm a person who is very intimidated by walking into a hotel gym. I get overwhelmed very easily. I've used it as a big excuse because I don't know if you're this kind of person, but if I walk into a gym and I don't know what to do, I just get overwhelmed and I then walk on a treadmill or I leave. And one of the reasons why I'm able to be successful at getting a walk-in every day is because I know how to do it. It's not that intimidating. And you don't need equipment and you don't need what to do and you don't need to manage anything. You can do it anywhere you are. So I've been able to fit that in, but I need to stop making excuses about this. And I know what I need. Everybody's talking about resistance training and protein and proper nutrition. And I just have to stop making excuses about this. And I need to write this down. This has got to be my number one thing because it's a domino effect. The weeks I get this right, I am a different human being. And I'm so sick of my excuses. And there's probably something in your life that you're just sick of yourself about it. You're sick of the excuses. You're sick of how it feels. I'm going to stop nagging my husband. I'm going to stop micromanaging my kids. I'm going to stop checking my ex's location all the time. I'm going to stop, like whatever it is for you. It's like, I invite you to think about the thing, and it's important to have one. You can write down a bunch more, but I really want you to have a big one because then you're going to be successful at it. And I already know what I need to do. And that brings me to the second question that you're going to answer, which is, what are you going to continue doing? What are you going to continue doing? And my continue doing kind of ties to what I'm going to stop doing. So I'm going to stop making excuses around exercise, and I'm going to come up with a 7-day plan. 4 of it involves resistance training, 2 upper body, 2 leg days. Boom, we're done. I can do the same boring exercises, 30 minutes or less. The other 3 days, I get to do what I want. I can walk, I can do Pilates, I can do whatever I want. Okay. I'm going to continue to lean into AI. And here's why I want to do that. I use AI at work. We have incredible tools that we have built that are really amazing for how we run business. But I realized I'm not leaning into it in my personal life. And I had this epiphany when we did an episode this year about AI with an expert on AI. And I just kept thinking about how little I know about it when it comes to how you can use it as a tool to help you be more of yourself, to help you find time to do the things that are super meaningful for you. I mean, right now, if I'm being honest with you, I kind of use AI personally almost like Google. You know, you type in something and you're searching for something. And to me, this is really important to just share about because I really do think women in particular, and those of you that are a little bit older like me as a 57-year-old woman, I do not want you to be left behind. And women, they estimate, are falling behind at a rate of like 25%. And just consider that this moment is sort of like saying, oh, I just don't want to learn email. I don't want to use a cell phone. Okay, well, that's your choice, but how are you going to connect with people? How are you going to be successful in a job? How are you going to be able to stay in touch with your kids or your grandkids? And on that topic, I want to know what my kids are using. And I do have concerns like you do about how fast AI is evolving and how unregulated it seems. I'm concerned about the impact on the environment. I'm concerned about privacy and about data. But how could I possibly be an effective advocate for regulation or change if I don't even use it or understand it? It's easy to sit on the sidelines and cross your arms and complain about all the things that are scary. But you're going to be much more effective at being part of a positive change if you actually understand how to use it. And so here's how I'm using it. I figured out the other day, because we wanted to meet our son halfway between where we live and where he lives on a Sunday night in the middle of nowhere in Vermont. And I asked it to help me find all the options for places midway that we could meet, restaurants that were actually open and that had a place to walk the dogs within a mile of the restaurant. Honest to God, this is what and it spit it out in like 10 seconds. I was like, what? And then I asked it a few more. So it helped me be able to make decisions and connect with Oak. So I'm going to continue leaning into it because now that I've kind of gotten a taste of how it can help me, I mean, this is going to sound weird, but almost feel a little bit more human. Like I don't want to spend time stressing about that stuff. And so I'm going to continue leaning in and finding ways to save time and solve problems so that I can focus on the stuff that's meaningful. And that's it. And so do you see how stopping something doesn't mean a dead end? Continuing something doesn't have to feel like an obligation. You're kind of just rolling things forward. Here's another thing I'm going to continue. I am going to continue scheduling time with friends in advance. In fact, yesterday, as I was getting ready for this episode and I was starting to scroll through my photos, I saw that one of the highlights was going to see friends in Montana. So what did we do? I said to Chris, we got to see those guys again. Please call the golf course and please find if there's some kind of tournament that we could all do. And sure enough, Chris found a tournament for next year in September. And I'm going to, and we sent a text to our friends saying, hey, are you guys available this weekend in September next year? So I'm going to continue being super proactive about finding time for friends, scheduling time with family, finding events to go to because it makes a difference. I'm also going to continue going to concerts because two highlights of my life were seeing Coldplay and Noah Khan. I can't stop talking about it, and I got to continue doing that. Okay, you see how this works? And so what are you going to continue doing? Are you going to continue to make time for your family and your friends? Are you going to continue to learn about AI or do skill building, things that you've been wanting to make time for? Are you going to continue to show up for your family? Are you going to continue going to school or continue like improving your skills at work? What do you want to continue doing? Continue seeing your friends? Do you want to continue the pickleball league? Do you want to continue drinking more water and hydrating and taking great care of yourself? Do you want to continue that evening routine? Do you want to continue the morning walk and listening to this podcast and audiobooks and other things that really help you improve your life and learn? Do you want to continue to surround yourself with the people that lift you up? Do you want to continue to garden and pursue the hobbies that really like make your heart full? Do you want to continue to sing in the church choir or continue learning the guitar? And one of the things that I hope you'll put on the list is that you're going to continue using the let them theory, that will continue protecting your peace. You'll continue really protecting your time and energy. You'll continue to feel empowered. You'll continue to work on accepting people for who they are, who they're not, and continue to draw better boundaries around the people that, gosh, they just are who they are. And that's never going to change. And so maybe you're going to be one of the millions and millions of people that say, you know, I'm going to continue using this let them theory because, boy, it's really working. Okay. Final question. What are you going to start doing this year? This is the question where you get clear on what you're going to begin. And remember, a start doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe you're going to start walking with a neighbor 3 mornings a week, or you're going to start a walking group. I did that when I first moved to Vermont. Guess what? It's something that still continues. Maybe you're going to start therapy. Maybe you'll start going to bed 30 minutes earlier and for real, not sleeping next to your phone. For real, like putting it in the other room. Maybe you'll start showing up differently at work and you'll start speaking up for yourself and sharing your ideas in meetings. Maybe it's traveling, even if it's just taking a day trip or speaking another language, or you're going to start dating again because this last year was the year that you had your heart broken. Maybe you'll start writing that book that you keep putting on the back burner. Maybe you're going to play the piano again. You stopped when you had kids, but now that you're an empty nester, now you're going to start again. You know, I want you to rediscover all the fun and the challenge of starting something new. And when it comes to what I'm going to start, this is a big one. There's a lot of little things that I'm going to start, but I want to tell you about this big one. And I can't even believe that I'm saying this. This is the first time I have said this out loud. I feel a little weird. I have butterflies, but you're the first person that should know. I am starting a new company and I can finally tell you about it. It's a new company called Pure Genius. And I am so excited about this. I have not been this excited about starting something new since I started the Mel Robbins podcast. And this is a personal thing that has happened for me. And so I kind of want to tell you the story because you've heard me complaining about how this entire year, a lot of the lows was that I was traveling and I let myself go. And I found it incredibly hard to eat healthy and to get the amount of protein in that I needed and to build muscle. And I know you find it hard to do those things too. This goes back to the beginning of the podcast. You know, I looked back at all the experts that have been on the Mel Robbins podcast. I have a list here. This all began back in June of 2023, episode number 77. We had Dr. Amy Shaw on. And she is a triple board certified Ivy League educated medical doctor who talks all about nutrition and health. And she started talking all about the importance of protein. And then 10 episodes later, she came back to talk about menopause and hormones and the absolute critical nature of building muscle, of resistance training, and of protein. And from that conversation on, because I'm in menopause, I have been focused on how can I build more muscle? How can I eat more protein? How can I leverage all this science to manage all the changes? And here's what I found. It is so hard to stay on top of this. It is so hard to get the amount of protein that you need. First, it was Dr. Amy Shaw. Then came Dr. Gabrielle Lyons talking all about muscle-centric health and protein. And then we had Dr. Vonda Wright, Dr. Stacy Sims, which, by the way, Dr. Stacy Sims came on the podcast and she talked all about how essential protein and resistance training is. This is the same Dr. Stacy Sims and the same episode that Apple just named the number one most shared episode of all podcasts in the world of the entire year. And so when Dr. Stacy Sims came on the podcast and with weights and weightlifting and was like, you got to get more protein. And I know you've heard this too. And here's what I found. It is so hard to get enough protein. I mean, between the egg bites and the chicken and the steak and the vegan protein and the bars and you need to refrigerate this stuff and forget about it when you're traveling. Forget about it. I don't know if you're finding the same thing, but like, oh my gosh, it is so hard. It is hard to get the amount that the medical experts are recommending. And I'm trying. I'm making the shakes. I'm doing the smoothies. I'm getting the bowls. I'm eating the chicken. I'm eating the eggs. I'm eating the fish. I'm eating the beef. I'm putting all the powders in. I'm buying the bars. And I'm telling you, it is still hard to do. I mean, there's only so many egg bites a person can eat. I knew I had a problem. I was having trouble solving it. I didn't know how to get more protein in. So I just started asking around. I asked all my friends that are in the podcast space. I asked my friends that were medical doctors. I started calling some of the doctors that appeared on this podcast. And one of the interesting thing is, even some of the doctors said, you know, there's a real gap in terms of what's available to people. And I'm looking for something that's a high quality, clinical grade protein source that somebody could take in like a shot. And as I started talking about the problem that I had, which is it's really hard to get quality protein in that you can trust to bridge the gap, I bumped into a couple people who had been working on this problem, and they had developed a first of its kind protein shot. And I am so thrilled to tell you that I have joined a company called Pure Genius as a co-founder. And I'm holding in my hand this innovative, revolutionary new form factor of protein. It's so cool. And you want to know what's genius about it? Inside these 3 ounces that fit in the palm of your hand, is 23 grams of a complete protein. It has all the amino acids that all of the medical experts recommend that you and I get for muscle building. And so this was a solution to a problem that I was facing, that everybody in my life was facing. So as soon as I decided I was going to get involved, the first phone call I made, can you guess? Dr. Amy Shaw, the medical expert that had appeared on this podcast in 2023 and first taught me and you the importance of protein and building muscle, particularly when it comes to hormone health, when it comes to longevity. And so I called her and I said, Dr. Shaw, I am going to jump into this project. I'm really excited about it. Would you ever go to California with me and go to the lab and kick the tires with me? Because I'm not the expert in this, but you're the expert in this. You're triple board certified, Ivy educated medical doctor who's recommending protein. Will you come and check this out? And she's like, of course I will. So we hopped on a plane. We went out to the labs in California. We met the scientists. We were involved in the tasting. We looked at the ingredients. We changed things to make it better. We have been behind every single decision related to the rollout of this product. And here's the reason why the name Pure Genius is perfect. Because any tool that's simple, that is trustworthy, that solves a problem, and that's backed by research, and a normal busy person like you and me can fit it into a busy life without really thinking, that's genius. Now, it's not available to buy just yet, but I want you to get on the wait list if you're interested in learning more. And so I'm not selling you anything. I'm just excited to tell you about this because it's everything that I try to be. It's a simple solution. It's smart and it's easy to fit into a busy life, and it's backed by science and research. Isn't that genius? I sure think it is. So if you want to learn more, just go to puregeniusprotein.com. There's a wait list there. We don't have any to sell you at the moment. It is coming, but that's what I'm starting this year. I'm starting a whole new company. I have incredible co-founders. I am so excited to share with you all the research and everything that I've learned about protein. I'm excited to introduce you to our world-class founding scientific board, but I am honored to be able to share that with you. And as you think about what you want to start, you can either go big, you can go, but you got 12 months. You don't have to start a new company in January. I mean, I'm telling you this and it's December. So I've been working on it in the dark, but I'm not technically starting it until the end of this year. If you want to start a business, write it down. If you want to start getting more protein, write it down. If you want to start a community vegetable garden, write it down. If you want to start prioritizing your health, you want to lose some weight, you want to get in better shape, write it down. If you want to start talking to your kids more, creating a better relationship with them, like maybe there's something that happened that strained your relationship and this is the year you're going to start to reconcile. Maybe you want to start to bring music back into your life, and that might just mean having playlists that you love that are playing in the background at your house. Maybe this is the year you start to take your house back. You're going to clean out the attic. You're going to clean out the garage. You're going to clean out the back bedroom, and you're going to turn it into the home office or the guest bedroom or, the crafting room that you've always wanted. Speaking of crafting, maybe this is the year you're going to start that hobby that brings you so much joy that you've been thinking about, but you didn't find time for. Maybe this is the year you start saying no. Maybe it's the year you start saying yes. Maybe this is the year you start getting up earlier. And you create a beautiful morning routine for yourself. You've been thinking about it. You've been learning about it. But this is the year you start doing it. What matters is that whatever it is that you want to start, that it pulls you toward a version of your life and yourself that feels good. And if that idea scares you a little bit, well, that's a sign that you're really reaching for something that matters. I'll tell you, when I look backwards at why I'm starting Pure Genius, I can see how the dots connect. I can see organically that all of these medical experts that showed up on the podcast and started dropping these kernels of important wisdom, that was opening up in something inside me. But I can also see that as I've had friends Much like how I got inspired to launch the podcast, I noticed friends were starting podcasts and I felt myself like, oh, I think I might want to do something like that. As I've noticed friends of mine starting small businesses, I have a friend that started a granola business, just a local one, selling it locally. I have another friend that started, their own beverage. That was kind of cool to watch. I felt myself being pulled towards it. And these are important things to pay attention to because what you may write down that you want to start, it may have actually been set in motion years ago. You may have been felt pulled towards it years ago, but you've just been saying, I'm too old. I don't know how to do that. Things like that don't happen for a person like me. I'm not smart enough. It's too late to start. But when you write down, this is the year I'm going to start writing that novel. This is the year I'm going to start writing that business plan for the restaurant I've always wanted to open. This is the year I'm going to start learning how to create a YouTube channel and monetize it. I'm going to start making money online. I'm going to start a real estate business. As you write that down, you are pulling those things that are in your heart and in your mind outside of you, and you're making them real by writing them on the paper. Because as I leaned into the thing I'm starting, I realized I'd been kind of nudged in that direction for quite some time. I guess I just wasn't ready to start just yet. But when you take the time and you write down, this is what I'm going to start doing. You take it from an idea and you turn it into a reality. That's the first step. Like, you have no idea what you're capable of. You have no idea what's possible in your life. But one thing is for sure, you will never figure that out if you don't find the courage to write down what you're going to start doing this year. You now have laid the groundwork for the best year ever because you are clear about who you are. You are clear about what matters to you. You are courageous about the things that you hold in your heart that are possible for you. And you have written them down. And that right there is how you create the best year ever. And I promise you, there is something about this exercise. You're going to want to do it again and again and again. It's that cool. It's that powerful. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited that you have your workbook. Again, you can get that at melrobbins.com/best year. I want to thank you for sharing this with people in your life because when they're energized, I'm so energized about this new thing I'm doing. And that's why I want you to swing for the fences when you do start. Because if you take on something that you don't know how to do, you take on something that's new, you take on something that you're interested in, it infuses you with so much excitement. It makes you interesting. It makes your life interesting simply to take something on where you're going to learn and you're going to grow. And boy, do I want that for you. And in case no one else tells you, I wanted to be sure to tell you that I love you and I believe in you and I believe in your ability to create a better life. And what you and I just did today is the step-by-step roadmap for how you do it. Alrighty, I will be waiting for you in the very next episode. I'll welcome you in the moment you hit play. Thank you for watching all the way to the end here on YouTube. Do not forget to get your workbook. Thank you for sharing this with people that you care about. Thank you also for hitting subscribe. I mean, of all episodes, this is one to hit subscribe. It's free and it's how you say, hey, Mel, thanks for showing up and supporting me. Hey, Mel's team, thanks for showing up and supporting me with all this free stuff. Yeah, I'm going to hit subscribe because I like supporting people who support me. And that's all that we're trying to do here. So thanks for watching all the way to the end. And now you're like, okay, well, what should I watch next? I think you're going to love this one. And I'll welcome you in the moment you hit play.